Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Runewords. Today we're going to be looking at one of the new rune words. This one's a helmet rune word. It's actually surprisingly good. You might want to pay attention to this one because it looks like it's going to be a fun one for pretty much any melee character at all. And might actually be pretty decent for some casters as well. It's not particularly that expensive, although it does have an Ist rune in it. It's called Coven. Coven has a lot of interesting stuff on it, so let's go over it line by line, shall we? Now, first off, the rune word is Ist Ral Io. It's a 3-socket, which most helmet rune words tend to be 3-socket. Ist, of course, is what gives it a little bit of its magic find, which is not bad. And then you get the fire res from the Ral rune, and then the Io rune, of course, gives you the plus 10 vitality, which is decent. Do keep in mind, though, that mercenaries don't have any vitality, so if you put it on a merc, they don't get anything. The first line on here is 5% chance to cast level 10 Sigil, lethargy, when struck. Now, lethargy is a new skill that is on the Warlock, the new class. And lethargy is actually pretty darn good. Let's go ahead and beef it up to level 10 real quick. Oops, one level pass. That's okay. Boom. There you go. I can respec anytime I want to. All right, so level 10. This is level 10 lethargy. Level 10 lethargy comes with a lot of interesting stuff. The first one is damage taken plus 29%. Which actually reduces the monster's physical resistance by 29%. It's very similar to Amplify damage in that regard. It's not as good as Amp, and it's not as good as Decrepify, Decrepify being 50% and Amplify damage being 100%, but I have seen it break physical immunities, and it will, of course, also enhance your physical damage. It also comes with negative 42% enemy defense, which is really freaking good, because that's going to make it a lot easier for you to hit targets and basically make it so that you need much less attack rating. It only has a radius of 6 yards, which isn't the most amazing, but we're going to demonstrate how large that is, Katie. And then it has a duration of 14 seconds at level 10, which is actually pretty good, which means it's going to stay on the battlefield for a pretty long period of time. This is a absolutely amazing ability. It also has base effects, which I totally forgot to read. The base effects at the top there are negative 50% attack speed and negative 50% run walk speed. So the monsters that are in it are slowed down, and they also attack less frequently. If you want to see what it looks like, let's go ahead and cast it out here, which basically when you're getting beat on, you're going to have this happen. So it's going to go and you're going to have this little thing pop underneath of you. And any monster that is standing within this radius will get that debuff on them, which is going to be really powerful for anybody who's a melee character, quite honestly, because it's just going to allow you to just have this really nice, like, anti-kill me field, and it's also going to increase your physical damage as a result. Since it stays for 14 seconds, and anytime it procs, it won't just go away immediately, and it'll actually be useful. It might not seem like the 5% chance is really all that much, but because it does stay up for a prolonged period of time, and as a melee character, you're probably going to get beat on anyway, it's going to be very useful, trust me. Then on top of that, we also have the +1 to all skills, which kind of puts it in the same category as a lore or a peasant crown, which is certainly not bad. +2 is obviously preferred, but +1 is not terrible. And then it has 20% faster cast, which kind of levels it up over other items like lore. So when you're leveling up, of course, lore is cheap and easy to come by, but this one's +1 with faster cast, and it comes with some other nice secondary bonuses, which isn't terrible, like Magic Find. So it could make a very excellent, like, mid-grade item between your lore helmet and, say, your Harlequin Crest Shaco as you're leveling. 20% FCR is actually kind of decent too. 44% enhanced defense. It does have the 10 vitality from the Io rune, which is of course going to give you health. The amount of health it gives you is going to be based on your character class, because you get like different varying amounts of HP depending on what character class you're on. And then of course the fire res is certainly welcome, especially if you're using one of those fire sunders. And then it has 4 life after each kill, which is like kind of like a mediocre stat, but whatever. It'll help sometimes if you're killing things quickly, but it does basically nothing if you're fighting like a boss or something. And then 31% magic find, which is actually kind of nice. Now the actual Ist rune, I believe, is not 31%. So let's take a look real quick and let's see what the rolls are on the item. And that way we'll know how high that goes, because I have a feeling it goes a lot higher than 31%. So the enhanced defense rolls between 30 to 50. The life after each kill rolls between 1 to 5, and then the magic find rolls between 26 to 40%. So, yeah, that's actually a pretty decent little helmet. I mean, all in all, it's a good helmet, but the cost of it might be a little expensive, especially for early ladder. The main problem with the cost is really the Ist rune. Whether or not you have an Ist rune on hand to actually make this rune word, and you might actually want to use it to make this rune word early on, is going to be up to how lucky you are. The Io rune's not horribly hard to come by. The Ral rune is super common. So the Ist rune is the only real make or break there for the helmet. Personally, though, I can totally see myself using this for basically any melee character, specifically for the level 10 Sigil lethargy, because that is a massive defensive bonus as well as offensive bonus, because it slows down the monster, kind of like Holy Freeze does, and also increases the damage that they're taking, which is also really nice. And then from a caster side, I can totally see it as an interesting budget piece because it's +1 with 20% FCR and actually has some resistance as a magic find on it. So just a solid helmet all around. It's not necessarily going to replace things like Bulwark for a more tanky physical damage reduction build, but it definitely has its place in there for a character who can get away with losing a little bit of physical damage reduction for having a chance to slow down the monsters and generally make their life a little bit easier. I'm not exactly sure like when you would pick this up. The highest rune is what, Ist, and Ist rune has a level requirement on it, right? I think it's like 40 something, right? Can't I remember the level requirement? Well, this website is no help. Ist rune, level requirement 51. So that means that this rune word will be a level 51 or higher item. So it's definitely not going to compete with lore, which is a much lower helmet at like, what, level 30 something or 29. And this helmet is going to be mid-grade. So 51 is like square in the middle. You're talking like middle of Nightmare, like end of normal difficulty, middle of Nightmare, when you might actually have a chance to craft this and put this on your head. Which is kind of good because you would probably use it from Nightmare difficulty all the way until Hell difficulty when you could replace it with, say, a Harlequin Crest Shaco. You might not even want to replace it with Harlequin Crest Shaco, though, because it's Magic Find and faster cast and plus the skills, whereas Harlequin Crest is only plus the skills and Magic Find. So it does make a very interesting like middle ground item between the two, where if you're running for faster cast and you just really need that extra 20%, you can avoid using the Harlequin Crest and go with the Coven instead. The Sigil Lethargy might not be very useful on a caster, but, I mean, the rest of the item's pretty solid. I think that's pretty much it for this item. I think it's a solid addition to the game, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy crafting it and using it. It's cheap enough that you can make a couple of them and try and get a good magic find. And, yeah, it's nice. I like it. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you are enjoying the content. And as always, keep watching.